Okay. What's going on, people? It's your boy Brandon Brevon Towns, host of that show called Sports Plus Life. And y'all already know what's going down today, my G. You dig? Huh? So turn it off, turn it all the way off, boy. Forgive me, I'm acting goofy. But just allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Brandon Brevon Towns. And again, this is Sports Plus Life, that wonderful sports podcast where we talk about all the important sports events and the life events that need to be discussed. If you're a first-time listener, definitely hit that subscription button. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to leave anything in that box below on your YouTube screen. And, you know, this is my 81st episode, and I'm just going to reiterate, I am not filtered, okay? I am unrated. I say what it is on my mind. In my mind, it is what the fuck I'm going to say. You dig? Okay, but anyway, I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. Crazy weather day, definitely crazy weather day. It was just nasty through the first half of the day. Then the sun came out and it got humid as hell in the Richmond, VA, and in Fredericksburg where I was delivering today. But anyway, it is Friday, May 22nd, 2020. Okay, so like I said, I hope everybody is doing good. This is Memorial Day weekend. Memorial Day weekend is coming up. Unfortunately, I do have to work tomorrow, but once that's over with, I can focus on having a good weekend, and I hope everybody does too. And of course, we still have all of this stuff going on with the coronavirus, but I think people are gonna hopefully be responsible this weekend. But anyway, y'all know what time it is. I'm going to get straight to it. I've been kind of ducking and dodging this topic the last couple weeks to discuss on the show, but y'all already know where I'm going with it. It's this over with 10-part documentary, Last Dance, so let's get to it. All right, like I said, I'm going to jump right into it, and I got my homeboy, my very knowledgeable homeboy, Tony, no stranger to the show, and he's a Chicago Bulls fan, so I couldn't really do detail on The Last Dance and not have a dedicated Bulls fan on the line. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, well, let's jump right into it. What did you think?
From a nostalgic point of view, I enjoyed it from a standpoint that it educated some of these young punks as to the differences between alpha and a dude that just claimed to be alpha, like LeBronica. But here's the but. I do think that some of it was jaded, but then in all fairness, that was Jordan speaking for himself, and they did have other people giving their input, and they were more than welcome to, chime in, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Okay. Well, was it anything in there?
But you do know what we got was an unfinished product, though.
Oh, absolutely. Because I know it wasn't supposed to come out. Well, yeah, it wasn't supposed to come out until this summer. But of course, because of, the pandemic that happened and nobody had any live sports to watch, so they said, whatever. But was it anything in there that you were surprised of, or was it pretty much what you expected to see?
It was pretty much what I expected. Everything, I'm a Bulls fan, so I followed everything from the Krause perspective, or Crumbs, as they like to call him, the Horace Grant, dynamic, the Pistons dynamic. Now, the one thing that, I didn't, and it's just a little tidbit, when it came to the Dream Team, I knew that, from Jordan's perspective, how he felt. I also had heard that in terms of Larry Bird, but I didn't hear, Karl Malone, also, and there were a number of others. And so when you actually look at it that way, yeah, if the 3-4 future Hall of Fame dudes are saying, I'm not going to play if this guy plays, then guess what? That guy ain't playing.
Yeah, I understand that. I thought Isaiah Thomas was made to seem like a very like a bad guy. Like, I've always been an Isaiah Thomas fan. I believed back then, and I always will believe that Isaiah Thomas should have been on the Dream Team. I mean, he should have been on the Dream Team before Chris Mullin, before John Stockton, before Clyde Drexler, damn sure before Christian Laettner.
But you gotta remember though.
I know I'm looking at accomplishments. I'm looking at
unit. You're not looking at. You're looking for a cohesive unit that's gonna, be able to live together. Because in some respects they did, and function together as a unit. No doubt, Isaiah as a player could have functioned with them guys, but hey, they on the bus playing cards. What Isaiah gonna do? Hey guys, fill me in. Shit, they made a hell of a blanket party for that dude.
I'm weak.
You are the company you keep. You kept company as a bad boy. A lot of guys' careers were put in jeopardy because of the Pistons. Hey, that's how they look at it.
Well, I mean, like I said, I actually, as a Lakers fan, and I was so young back then, I was like, when the Bad Boys Pistons were doing their thing, I was like 6, 7 years old, but 5, 6, 7 years old. But I actually have an appreciation for that team because, yeah, they were roughhouse tactics, but them dudes could play. They could play, and I don't. Right, exactly. I think the biggest mistake that they made, of course, was not shaking the Bulls' hand after they got put out. Now, I know they said that the Celtics did the same thing. So, I mean, if the Celtics did the same thing, I think, me personally, it's been almost 30 years. I think people need to let at least let that go. I mean, because it didn't stop or prohibit the Bulls from winning 6 championships. The Pistons were finished. They were done. There was no more tread left on those tires. It was just enough tread to get to the playoffs, but not even to advance anymore. So I mean, it is what it is. My takeaway from the documentary was pretty much, it was pretty much what I expected. While I wasn't a Bulls fan, I was a diehard, dedicated basketball fan. So the only thing that I really didn't know was as far as Dennis Rodman taking time, needing to go to Vegas, in the middle of the season or playoffs or whatever. But
speaking of Rodman, the one thing they didn't cover in their dynamic is what we just talked about. So what kind of conversation took place with Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman in relation to, before he joined the Bulls, in relation to that Pistons action? Because it seems Isaiah took the heat for it because he was vocal, like, he took that mentality, like, we don't care, whereas, maybe Rodman, I don't know.
Well, remember, Rodman was the one who made the comment about Larry Bird, who said Larry Bird gets the attention because he's white, and Isaiah co-signed on it, but Isaiah took all the heat because Rodman was a rookie and Isaiah was a superstar. But, I know in the documentary that they said Scottie Pippen didn't want him on the team, which didn't surprise me, but to be honest with you, for one, obviously he didn't have a say, but if you look in basketball terms, the Bulls never replaced Horace Grant, and they saw it that season, the year that Michael came back, the 95 season. Tony Kukoc wasn't that guy that was going to do the things that Horace Grant did. That's why they lost to Orlando. Now they needed to get a garbage man, a true garbage man like Dennis Rodman. I mean, now Grant was a more offensive-minded person, but Rodman was the best, rebounder in basketball. So I can imagine what that conversation was like, because it was probably, if I was a fly on the wall, I probably would hear Phil Jackson trying to do the Jedi mind trick, Scottie Pippen not saying a damn thing, Dennis Rodman hardly paying attention, and Michael Jordan chiming in from here and there. That's what I would guess. Because, Rodman was...
It was strange. It was strange listening to Rodman talk about the Bulls as if he preferred his time with the Bulls over the Pistons. He's like, great group of guys and blah, 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 blah. And they, and they just so together. And I was saying, what, you weren't together with the Pistons?
No. See, it was one part where he said it reminded him of the Pistons, because Chuck, he said Chuck Daly was like his father. When he started, going left as far as doing the hair dyeing and the drag was when he left Detroit. When he left Detroit and went to San Antonio. If you've watched the Bad Boys 30 for 30 or the Dennis Rodman 30 for 30 that came out a little less than a year ago, he loved that Pistons team. They were his family. Like, he loved that team. And it was like, he didn't grasp the concept of, this is a business, because, back then players were loyal to the team that they were with. It wasn't players switching teams every year like it is now. And, Detroit was a championship team. They embraced, they were a family. And San Antonio, he was just doing his own thing. He probably thought David Robinson was soft. Probably thought Sean Elliott and them was soft. So when he got with the Bulls, he said it on the documentary. He said it reminded me of Detroit. They're so together. They're a unit. But I don't think, I seriously doubt, even though he won one more championship with the Bulls and, in his 3 seasons with Chicago, I don't think that would replace his time with the Pistons, because I think he would still prefer the Pistons, because the Pistons took a chance on him. He took a chance on a 25-year-old rookie who had really only been playing basketball for about 4 years. And, Chuck Daly just took him under his arms like a son. And, that's what broke his heart when Chuck Daly left, and he just went off his rocker. Well, I don't want to say off his rocker, but he became the Dennis Rodman that we know now. But I mean, it was a perfect fit for the Bulls, because like I said, if they had went into that, there would be no 72-win season or a second three-peat without Rodman. Period. Just not gonna happen. If you left the team as constructed from when Jordan came back in '95, they would have been a second-round playoff team, just like in '95.
I don't know about that, but
they wouldn't have beat Orlando.
But I will say this, on a non-Bulls but Last Dance topic. So I follow, I look at Twitter and, some of the NBA players chiming in on the Last Dance and fans, and, them looking at that style of basketball and saying, well, if the Bulls were this historic team and these other historic teams, why are the scores 85 to 78 and 91 to 86? I said, well, defense, bro. You're watching defense.
Right. You're right. Real defense. And you're watching a physical style of play, not ticky-tack.
And then you watch even the offensive players. I pointed out Reggie Miller. I said, now, who can't see Reggie Miller succeeding in today's 3-ball game?
Oh, my goodness. Reggie Miller would average 30 points. Easily. Oh, what's crazy is that, and I always used, and I love talking about this. When you talk about the players, talking about the style of play, then the style of play, the players in the 90s, the 80s and the 90s, they would thrive. They would really thrive in today's basketball. There were 2 teams that were really, really ahead of their time, and that was in '95. Orlando and Houston. They were ahead of their time, because if you remember that final series, everybody was just in awe that the way they were shooting the 3. I mean, Houston had 4 guys in the lineup.
You ain't gonna throw Phoenix into that, though, right? Phoenix Suns, 125 points a night, Phoenix Suns, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, the Western Conference style of play, they weren't Mike D'Antoni's Phoenix Suns. They weren't 7 seconds or less. But the Western Conference style of play was way more up and down than Eastern Conference in the 80s and 90s. They were way more up and down pace. The Eastern Conference was like the black and blue division in the NFL. They were physical. The Western Conference tried to emulate Showtime. All the teams tried to emulate Showtime. Now, and I'm talking about 3-point shooting. I mean, on Phoenix, you had Kevin Johnson, who was capable. Dan Marley was really the 3-point shooter. I guess Danny Ainge would. Tom Chambers, Wesley Person. But I'm talking about a championship squad that had 4 guys in the starting lineup: Kenny Smith, Drexler, Ellie, Robert Horry, 3-point shots. You know, they would dominate in today's NBA. So would Orlando.
I think that a lot of guys back then, when you go look at their career stats, they were above 30%. They were around 34% 3-point shooters. But the emphasis wasn't on the three. If it had been, you know, certainly guys would have been better 3-point shooters just because of work ethic. Barkley could hit a 3.
Yeah, Barkley could hit a 3.
Don't you really believe if the emphasis was on the 3 that Barkley would maybe get close to the 40%?
Probably, yeah. I mean, because nowadays you're trading 2s for 3s.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know,
a guy like what's our man Detroit, Rip Hamilton, for instance, mid-range game, he was, you know.
Oh, awesome! He was with it. He had that on lock.
Yeah, if the emphasis was on 3, he'd have been an excellent 3-point shooter.
Oh yeah, I mean he wasn't a bad 3-point shooter. That just wasn't his game. He was more like Reggie. He was a Reggie Miller style of 2-point shooter, come off a screen and hit and have the had a mid-range game. Now I have my question is, so what do you think of the backlash that's been coming down from this documentary?
Well, if you're speaking specifically to Horace Grant, I think the Horace Grant is salty simply because him even speaking on what Jordan observed when he first got to the booth, they called him a snitch because he mentioned what he observed. Jordan didn't name no names. He just said, I walked in the locker room and guys were doing coke and had hookers in there. Okay, which is not all that different than what Terry Bradshaw said he did at halftime during the Super Bowl, him and his teammates. You know, I mean, he didn't name names. He didn't say who was doing lines. So, you know, Horace Grant.
Well, you know, Craig Hodges was the first one to point that out.
Well, Craig Hodges wasn't even in the documentary, and again, Jordan didn't mention Craig Hodges. So for Craig Hodges to chime in at all, it's like, why? Why are you even talking? People that would have had something to say didn't, like Luke Long. He was there, you know. He was there. He would have something to say. Craig Hodges doesn't even have a history with Jordan other than playing on the team. They never had that, you know. You never heard anything in relation to Craig Hodges. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. People got their own motivation. Even Scotty, you know, getting a little sensitive because Jordan called him selfish in that one playoff thing. But he also said, you can't mention my name without mentioning Scottie Pippen's name.
Well, yeah, because I just read that Scottie Pippen is really he's pissed. I read that yesterday because I wasn't just Horace Grant I was talking about because, you know, Scotty, you know, all of Scotty's defaults were brought to the forefront in the documentary, from, you know, him sitting out, you know, when Jordan wasn't even with the team. Like, honestly, I do agree with Horace Grant on that one. I wouldn't have even mentioned that because he wasn't even on the team. There was no point to mention that. Him sitting, you know what I'm talking about, 1.8 versus the Knicks, you know, the migraine.
No, that's not what they were talking about. That's not what they were talking about. When Jordan said selfish, he was talking about the ankle injury.
No, I know at the beginning of the 97-98 season. I know that.
Right.
Yeah, no, I know. No. I know.
He said, I wouldn't have done it, and he said, Scotty, that's something Scotty has to live with. You know?
No, I know, but I mean, as far as what Horace Grant was saying, as far as even mentioning the 94 season when Scotty took himself out of the playoff game against the Knicks where Tony Kukoc had made that game-winning shot, I didn't see a point of mentioning that in the documentary either. Jordan wasn't even on the team, you know, so...
Jordan was asked. It's not something he volunteered. They talked about it because it was part of the documentary, and they asked Jordan about it, and that's what he said, you know, what he told Phil, and this and that. Like, that's something Scotty gonna have to, you know...
Yeah, I mean, that's just something that I would have edited out, because one thing that I have heard from a couple of people via Twitter and on some sports talk that, you know, Michael had the final thing and everything. And if you said anything negative about him, it was edited out. Like they said, it was a bunch of people. It was way more people that spoke on that documentary than actually you saw. They said literally Ron Harper had one line, and that was in regards to the final play in the Cleveland game where he made the shot to eliminate them in the first round. And then you didn't hear from Ron Harper again. And I heard on Twitter is because he didn't have the best comments to say, and it was edited out. I mean, fact is, Michael Jordan's an all-time great. You know, I don't think my personal opinion, I don't think he's the best of all time. That's just me. And I can explain why if you would like. But Michael Jordan was an asshole. You know, but sometimes you have to be an asshole to get the best out of your teammates. I mean, that was his style of leadership. But if I was on the team, me and Mike would have came to blows. They would have traded me or whatever. But if he had stepped to me, you know, treated me the way he did Horace Grant with the food and Scott Burrell, no, he'd have got jabbed a couple of times. You know, and it's not that I couldn't.
If you let Steve Kerr tell it and Kukoc that if you responded with your play on that court, Jordan left you alone.
Well, Steve Kerr said
Steve felt like you was dogging it that he gave it to you, but once you stood up to him, or
I was going to say when Steve Kerr got punched in the eye, I think that was his red badge of courage.
Well, yeah, he said he initiated the physical.
Yeah, he said he hit him in the chest.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, it is what it is. I'm sure that could be said about a lot of
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I said that a couple of podcasts ago. I said, you know, if you're great, particularly in athletics, if you're truly great, most likely you're probably not a great person to get along with. You know, I can have met Kobe Bryant was probably an asshole. Magic Johnson, smile and everything, probably had his asshole moments. Serena Williams looks like she could be an asshole as much as I love her. Tiger Woods looks like he could be an asshole. The true all-time greats, they definitely have that dickhead that runs in their blood, but I mean, it works. You know, it works to a degree. But it's like, I guess people are asking now, for what cost? You know, at what cost? I guess that's why people get on LeBron. Either they side with him or they get on him because people say he's too nice.
I think this, and I'm gonna take a wild shot in the dark as far as your greatest of all time. And I say they're 1A and 1B, and only because this dude won on every level. Arguably the greatest at his position, because there are some that will say Will, there are some that will say Russell because of the championships, but Kareem won at every level, the longevity, and I ain't talking about meaningless longevity. He was good for a long time, and then he dropped off.
So that's your guess. You're taking a wild guess that that's Kareem.
I would guess. Yeah, I would guess. I mean, it would have to be Kareem.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
You know, now Jordan is with him on 2 out of the 3. Well, you know, he got his 3, you know, whether you count college and then the pro and the Olympic, you know. So that's why I say 1A and 1B. But they were, those 2 guys, and then you got everybody else.
Okay. Well, I like the way that you put that, because a lot of people would just dismiss, nah, it's Jordan. I'm like, you know, you watching a documentary, it's fresh in everybody's head, spur of the moment, but you know, a lot of people don't follow sports like me and you. I'm like, you really don't know how dominant Kareem was. You know, he's the all-time leader in points for a reason. You know, like you said, he won at every level, won every year in college, was the National Player of the Year every year at UCLA. The only other person.
Do you know why that is? Do you know why people demote Kareem somewhat in that greatest of all? Because he was dependent. Being a center, he was dependent.
Yeah, but I mean,
Whereas
the most.
Jordan could literally take the ball out of bounds, and whatever's gonna happen, magic could happen full force.
But the most dominant, the most unstoppable move ever, and only truly perfected by him. And you couldn't do anything about it.
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Who stopped the sky hook?
I've seen Ralph Sampson and Akeem block the sky hook.
All right, but how often? I mean, Ralph Sampson was 7'4".
Not often. But then how often did you see somebody block Jordan's fadeaway, or did you see somebody without fouling him, or did you see somebody block that finger roll from Iceman?
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but styles make fights. It depends on who is guarding you. It depends on their length, their width. I've seen Jordan's fadeaway block, but like I said, not often. I never really watched that much Iceman Gervin, but every time I saw a highlight, I never saw anybody block that finger roll. But what was it? He like 6'10"?
It was just as high as the sky hook. That's why nobody could block it.
But was it?
That thing up and it'd be just as high up in the air as Kareem's sky hook.
I was gonna say, wasn't he like 6'10"?
Nah, he was like 6'8".
Okay.
He was just long and lanky.
Right, yeah, I know he had like a Kevin Durant like wingspan, or Kevin Durant has a George Gervin like wingspan. Yeah. So, but no, my all-time greatest is Kareem. I understand he was dependent, but if he was on your team, especially in his prime, you weren't not getting him the ball. Period. You weren't, and his prime lasted till he was about 38, 39 years old. When he averaged over 30 points in the 85 finals and won finals MVP, he was 38 years old. So it's not like, he, like you said, he was very effective for a long time. When it was Magic's time to take over, he still was averaging damn near 20 a game, once it became Magic's team. But I just think as far as basketball player, the accomplishments as far as Kareem, like I said, all-time leader and points, and plus he stood for something else, outside of competition. To me, him standing with Ali when he refused to go to Vietnam, and that was just when he was in college. To me, that resonates with me. Like, I was watching First Take, and Max Kellerman said that Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete of the 20th century. I don't agree with that. If you want to put him second or third, fine. But to me, he can't top Muhammad Ali, because what Muhammad Ali did, what he sacrificed, what he stood for, and what he accomplished when he came back.
It's a play on words, but Kellerman, I too heard him say that. He did say athlete. He didn't say sports figure.
But even athlete, to come back and win the heavyweight championship twice in the golden age of boxing, in the golden age of heavyweights, that, and I also remember ESPN at the, I looked it up because I remember it when I was like 16 at, right at 99, right going into 2000, when ESPN had did, the top 100 athletes of the 20th century, and they actually re-put that up on their sports ticker a couple days ago. I don't know if that was responding to Max Kellerman or not, but it had Muhammad Ali number 1, Michael Jordan number 2, and that was something that they did 20 years ago. I mean, like I said, I will never knock Jordan because he isn't. I mean, I'm glad that these young players, young pros or young college or high school players, even middle school players, got a chance to see that documentary, because for one, it was a man's game back then. It was a man's game. Won't nobody being all buddy and trying to play with your homeboy. I'm sorry, that shit drives me nuts. It does.
Well, at least they know now what the real Jordan was.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Okay, so next question. Now let's play some what if. And I love how Jerry Reinsdorf tried to sneak in. Well, yeah, I offered Phil a contract at the midnight hour, which Phil confirmed. I kind of shook my head. I was like, you had all season to do that, but you let your GM, who was a brilliant GM, but he just wanted the credit. You let him bamboozle you. So if the Bulls could have come back together for that strike short 99 season, do you think they four-peat?
Well, I'm going to speak on the Reinsdorf thing because, again, I was a fan then, and Jerry Reinsdorf is a baseball man.
I know, White Sox. Yeah.
And so he literally basically turned the keys over to Krause, which is why if it seems like he was apathetic toward the Bulls, he was. All he wanted to do was what revenue they were bringing in.
Right.
He didn't care about the Bulls. Now, would they have won a fourth? Yes, despite what Kenny Smith says,
What did Kenny Smith say?
Well, Kenny Smith said his Houston Rockets, when Jordan retired, they would have lost to those Rockets. I say Akeem probably would have averaged 38 points. However, you wouldn't have heard Kenny Smith or none of them other names.
I actually agree with Kenny Smith. I've always said that. I thought, because one thing I will say, in dynasties, sometimes there are teams that you just never run into for whatever reason. It's not your fault. You just never run into them. And I have always thought, I always will think that out of those 6 championships for Chicago, the teams that they avoided that I believe would have taken them out was, I believe that the 95 Rockets, not the 94 Rockets, I believe the 95 Rockets would have beaten Chicago. I can explain why, but I believe I don't believe they would have beat Houston in any series. The 97 Rockets, I don't believe they would have. I don't believe they would have beat the 97 Rockets and the 97 New York Knicks. I believe the Knicks, when they squatted up after they lost to Chicago in 96, when they went out and got Allen Houston, Chris Childs, and Larry Johnson to go with Ewan, Starks, and Oakley, that 97 season, the Knicks handled the Bulls, and they were up 3. Huh?
I only say that because Kenny Smith talking at Yin Yang. However, if John Starks wasn't so busy trying to watch OJ drive down the highway and didn't shoot 0 for 11
in Game 7, well, I mean, I remember I said that the 95 Rockets would have beaten the Bulls. I didn't say the 94 Rockets because I'm replacing Vernon Maxwell with Clyde Drexler. Okay. There was no answer for Hakeem Olajuwon. None. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that Jordan could have offset Drexler. No, I'm not going to say something like that. But Houston had bodies that they could have thrown at Michael. Robert Horry, back then, Robert Horry was very athletic. He was a shot blocker and a three-point threat. So you take Dennis Rodman out of the post unless you try to put Dennis Rodman on Olajuwon, and that's just not happening. One of those.
Gonna get his anyway, but
right.
You're assuming, right? And this is a hypothetical. You're assuming that the Bulls would be as constituted the exact same way. You got one more year of Kukoc in that lineup, and then they may have made an acquisition. Who knows? But that would have been interesting to see. But you're right. 94, the Bulls would have smacked them up. Hakeem would have averaged 38 points, like I said, and everybody else would have been us.
Well, and I also think that like I said, the 97 Rockets, because to me, honestly, the best Bulls team was actually not the 96 team. I think that the best Bulls team was the 92 team, the second championship team that won 67 games, because I'm not saying Horace Grant is better than Dennis Rodman, but he was an offensive threat and a garbage man. And Michael Jordan was better in 92 than he was in 96. What made the 96 team so dynamic was, Rodman was new to the system, and Rodman was totally at his, he'd gotten back to at his best. Scottie Pippen was way better in 96 than he was in 92. Scottie Pippen was way better in 96. They had better shooting because
they had better shooting. That's Kerr and Kukoc alone.
Kerr and Kukoc. Yeah, well, I was going to say exactly, because you had Paxson wasn't injured yet. You had BJ. You had Hodges. And I actually think the 93 Bulls team was the best shooting team because
but they were definitely 96 was definitely a better defensive team.
Yeah, 96 was a better defensive team, but Jordan was better in 92. Jordan was better, and Grant was gave you an extra offensive option that Rodman wouldn't have given you, and could have still given you 3/4 of the production on the board, and he could guard, the 4 and the 5 if needed be. So I've always thought that the 92 squad was the better team, and they were, like I said, they were all in their 20s still. You know what I'm saying? They were all in their 20s. And
don't Stacey King that. Don't let Stacey King. You
Oh Lord, no Lord, not Stacey King. Oh Lord, but I actually think the '93 Bulls team was the best shooting team because Paxson was still there, even though he was busted up. You had B.J. Armstrong, and I don't know if you remember this guy. They had Trent Tucker.
Oh yeah, Trent Tucker.
Yeah, I took it back, didn't it?
Yeah.
But when I said,
But
when I said, do you think they would have won a fourth? I was actually asking, do you think they would have won it in '99?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because at that point they all really long in the tooth. All the parts that matter are long in the tooth. They still had the system, and it would have taken some of the younger pieces to step up. Tony Kukoc would have had to elevate his game to starter level, even though he wouldn't have been the starter. He'd had to elevate it to starter, 100% starter level.
That might have been
Scott Burrell, same thing.
Yeah, I don't know if Scott Burrell would wanted to put up with Michael for another year. You saw in the documentary when it was Game 5 when it was Game 5 against Utah, he said, "After this game, you ain't got to hear from me no more."
But in the same token, he also gave the dichotomy that is Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
On the court, one guy. Off the court, totally different guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think
it's a totally different thing.
I think that may have been, and let's assume that they played the Spurs because that was the Spurs' first championship. Nah, that might have been a bad matchup because you're not just talking about one big man that you really wouldn't have had an answer for. You wouldn't have had an answer for two.
Yeah,
and Duncan was just in his second year, and he was ready. I mean, he was ready when he came into the league. You know, that just that size makes it would have made it real tough. It'd have been intriguing to see. And let's just say, because I mean, I've thought about this in totally different scenarios. Let's just say Phil Jackson doesn't come back, but you get another coach. You get another coach, but you're able to keep the players. Do they get there? And if they get there in '99, do you get there in 2000 with Phil now with Shaq and Kobe? Do you beat them? I don't think so at that point because now you're too long in the tooth. And also, even if they had came back in '99, who's to say Scottie Pippen would have came back?
That's true too. And one thing I will say that it probably would have happened though had Phil not come back, but they got the rest of the band back together. It probably would have been the same. The only difference is controlling the personalities because the Tex Winters would have probably still been there. The Triangle still would have been there. Jordan would have still been there. So.
I don't know. I actually think if Phil hadn't came back, I actually think that they would have reached out to Doug Collins. Yeah, because Doug Collins' whole offense was get Michael the ball and get the hell out the way. I mean, obviously, that didn't produce any championships. But remember who was when he came back to Washington? Who was his coach? So he has a soft spot for him. When he came back to the Wizards, Doug Collins was his coach. I believe if Jerry Reinsdorf had said, "Hey, okay, we're not gonna bring Phil back, but Michael, you pick the coach," it wouldn't have been no damn Tim Floyd.
No, it wouldn't have.
If
that's the interesting thing about Doug Collins. I don't think a player ever had a problem with Doug Collins, really.
No.
He is one of those player coaches. Him and Don Nelson.
Oh yeah, I think Larry Brown is too.
Yeah, Larry Brown, and I'm even say Pat Riley is in that boat.
Except for Shaq.
That's true.
All right, well, so I enjoyed it. It was something that was good to watch. Now, have you heard about, the NBA trying to what do you think about the NBA trying to get started, basically, when do you think they should start? If they start up open, if they start recalling players next week, June 1st, like they're saying, when do you think they should start?
I think with all the major sports, because these guys are millionaires and they play for millions and a multi-million-dollar franchise and $1 billion league, they can get tested whenever they want. If they're playing in empty stadiums, it's just a matter of them getting tested and showing up for work. Now, field and they go do stuff. Some of them like the nightlife. Some of them be on South Beach partying when they shouldn't be, but they have to test them like every week, before they enter the facilities and so on and so forth. I don't know. I don't know, but I don't see, like right now. I think it'd be good for the morale of people. But like I said, they'd have to have a system in place. They could do it right now if they had a system in place.
Well, what I've heard is late July, and I think that's too late. Now, I want them to continue with the season, but I'm like, if you're going to recall players June 1st, then to me, a perfect scheduling scenario would be starting around the 4th of July. Maybe that's 4th of July weekend. If they're hell bent on having any type of regular season games, I've heard some crazy stuff about tournaments, playing games, and this, that, and the third, even doing an NCAA style. But until you get to your regular 16 teams that are in the playoffs. But I would start around the 4th of July weekend, and so you could be concluded with the season by Labor Day. And then if you conclude by Labor Day, you're not interfering with the NFL. And then you can start the next season because, if they start in July, it'll be pretty much like they had an off season, So, once you conclude the season on Labor Day, the Labor Day weekend, and then you start your next season Christmas, and just kind of have a short, have like a 60-game season for next year, so you could get back to your normal like they did in 2011, like they did the 2010-2011 season when they had the work stoppage. And they started on Christmas, and they were still able to have All-Star Weekend and all of that other good stuff. But that's the way I would do it. To me, if you start in late July, damn, and near August, you might as well scrap it for all of that, because now you're gonna mess around and possibly run into the NFL season. Because one thing that I don't want to hear from nobody is any type of load management if the season resumes.
Yeah, no. No load management.
Hell no. You guys just got 3 months off.
If anything, they should have learned that from the Last Dance. No load management.
Facts. You can learn that from any NBA, any 30 for 30 about basketball in the 90s.
Play the game.
Right. And they need to do it just like the 90s or early 2000s. Every other day, get your ass on the court. Hell, in the 80s, they used to have back-to-backs in the playoffs.
You know what your load management should be?
What?
We gonna skip practice on Wednesday. That's load management.
There you go. There you go. Because now you have, they resume the season. You have players who were injured who are now healthy. Ben Simmons was out for Philly. He'll be back. I'm not going to sit here and say, because this idea was floated today as far as playing games for the seeds in East and West 7 through 15. Some people like it, some people don't. And you're saying, hey, the Warriors are 15 and 50, but what if Steph and Clay are there for playing games? I'm like, oh, Lord. What if Kyrie and Kevin Durant are there with the Nets? I'm like, at this point, this is, whatever happens, it's going to be a tainted season regardless. You're gonna say, well, it's only because to the winner, and you're gonna say, but what if only to the loser.
Right.
But I think they should either start it in early July or just say F it.
That's in your watered down stars play together league. And it's funny because another thing from the Last Dance, the parting shot from the Last Dance, for all the people that would tweet and stuff like, oh, Jordan won his championship against electricians and plumbers. I'm like, okay. So you missed the 4 Hall of Famers sitting on the Celtics bench. You missed all these other players. You want to know what Jordan played against? Pull up, go get NBA Jam.
Right.
NBA Jam.
Right.
There you go, right there, where every team
right.
at least 2 dudes.
Right. Exactly.
Future Hall of Famers or All-Stars.
Right. Exactly.
That was period.
Except
everybody had it,
Except for the Mavericks and the Timberwolves.
Yeah, that's it.
It's so funny.
That's only because the Mavericks didn't won wanted to get high, you know, Roy Tarpley and stuff in the world.
But no, but you talking about NBA Jam? The Mavericks actually had players. They had Jimmy Jackson and Jamal Mashburn.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know, Jason Kidd. You know,
they would have had Sprewell and Garnett.
Who? Which team?
The Timberwolves.
No, that was the Warriors. The Timberwolves had
Sprewell.
Oh, you talking? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm talking about the '93 version. You went back. You went to 04. I remember what you're talking about when they had Sprewell, Cassell, and Garnett. Yeah. But no, I mean, it's funny you say that because my wife got me NBA Jam about 2 months ago. No, she got it for Valentine's Day. She got it for me for Valentine's Day. I literally sat in the house 3 days straight and beat it. And I didn't move. I didn't move. But it's one more thing I want to say about this Last Dance, and I'm just, you know, people have crushed LeBron for this whole 5-week thing, you know, for whatever reason. And you know, I'm not a LeBron fan. I am a Laker fan. But, you know, I've heard people say, see, this is why LeBron's not the GOAT, this, that, and the third. And I never thought he was better than Jordan anyway. But, you know, if the season resumes and the Lakers win the championship, you know, LeBron's going to probably come out with his documentary called The Last Laugh. Because remember, this wasn't supposed to come out until this summer, till after the season, so Jordan would have had the attention of the summertime no matter who won the championship. LeBron has a chance to really flip the narrative here. I mean, I don't think if he wins with the Lakers that they're going to put him over Jordan, but best believe there will be some people who do, and the conversation will start again.
I don't think it will. If Game of Zones, I don't even know if you follow Game of Zones.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, you need to watch it. It's entertaining. The final episode, it was extended. It was like 30 minutes long. It was pretty damn funny. And it speaks to the whole crowning LeBron the GOAT and all this other stuff. And they had a council made up of Bill Russell and Kareem and all these other great players. And yeah, he's like, I finally vanquished the Sir Jordan and blah, 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 blah. And at the end of it all, they crowned Paul Pierce the GOAT.
Yo, you heard him come out and admit that he spit at LeBron during a preseason game in LeBron's rookie year?
Yeah.
See, this is why sports needs to come back live quickly, because we're digging up old beefs from 15, 20 years ago, and it's making headlines. It's front page news. That's why we got to get back to regular live sports, other than cornhole.
Do you know why LeBron will never shake that? Because of the losses. He'll never shake it because people that watch, yeah, okay, they beat the Warriors, but largely the closing part of that game, you had to say Kyrie. Kyrie had a big hand in that. And then the picture that says 1,000 words, J.J. Barrera guarding LeBron.
Right.
And they're like, somebody put a caption like, this is what they think of you.
Well, I don't respect that 2016 Cavaliers championship because, you know, he got Draymond Green suspended. You know, and I understand that they won 2 more games, but basketball is a momentum sport. If LeBron doesn't run to the principal's office and Draymond Green doesn't get suspended, the Warriors win that series in 5.
Right.
That's why I laughed my ass off when they got Kevin Durant. I said, well, guess what? You can go to the principal's office all you want. You ain't beating them. I mean, but yeah.
They had on the Game of Zones thing, Magic and Kareem, I thought he was on that council, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when LeBron was pleading his case to the council, Magic and Kareem both like, you weren't even the best Laker. And then out of nowhere, what's his name? Shadeo 3.
Oh wow!
On the throne, say, yeah. You ain't even the best Laker.
And see, that's why, you know, with all LeBron's losses, that's why I've always asked, well, when did he pass Magic? When did he pass Kobe?
He didn't.
Exactly. I don't think so either. I mean, Magic
Magic
went.
Johnson was what Magic Johnson was because of the team he played with. But Magic proved that if he needed to be more, he could be more any given night.
Right, Magic. Look, if Magic wanted to, Magic could have averaged 30. Because to me, I mean, because for a long time I said Magic was the best of all time because of, you know, and that was me being biased because he's my all-time favorite player. But I still stick with what I say as far as, you know, he to me was one of the most, maybe outside of Kareem, the most unguardable player because he was a unicorn, 6'9" point guard. He was too quick for big men and too big for smaller men. Nobody could guard him. Even Jordan in the 91 finals could not guard him. The reason why Phil Jackson was able to put Scottie Pippen on Magic Johnson was because James Worthy was hurt. James Worthy was compromised, and he could slide Jordan on Worthy and say, okay, Worthy's not going to do much because he severely sprained his ankle against Portland, Game 5 in the West Series against Portland, and for the rest of the playoffs he was only good for maybe a half. So after Game 1, remember, Michael almost fouled out the game that they lost, and he asked to be taken out of the game because he was tired from guarding Magic Johnson. He could not guard him. He could not guard him, and Phil Jackson knew that and knew Worthy was compromised. So he moved Jordan to Worthy and put Pippen on Magic. Pippen couldn't stop him, but he could slow him down because of his length and his quickness. That was the move of the series. That is really the move that, I'm not going to say the Bulls wouldn't have beat them if Worthy was healthy, but it's a completely different series if James Worthy is healthy. And Jordan has to stay on Magic because that was a mismatch. You know, I don't care. Michael was a badass defender, one of the best. But there was nobody on planet Earth that could guard Magic Johnson. And he went to...
The strange thing, though, that's true. A lot of the guys, that's how you know they are what they are. Because you just threw waves of defenders at certain guys, and it just didn't matter. You know, it just didn't matter. They're going to do what they're going to do.
Right.
Larry Bird, as slow as he was, you had multiple defenders on him, and it didn't make a difference.
Well, that's because Larry could shoot from half court, you know, and he was also a damn good passer. So it really didn't make a difference. I mean, and that's why, like, you know, with the losses of LeBron, you know, he's been to Magic went to just as many finals in less time, way less time, and won 5 of them. So, you know, I'll never say, you know, LeBron would literally have to win 6 for me to say that he's past Magic or Kobe. He would literally have to win 6.
And the other thing in Magic's corner, when Magic did lose, he lost the dynasty.
Oh man.
Ain't no shame in losing to another dynasty.
Exactly. The only dynasty he didn't lose to, but they were due. They had beat him in the finals twice already, was Philly. And 83 when they were swept. But I mean, who ain't no shame in losing to Dr. J and Moses Malone. You know what I'm saying? And Maurice, right? And Maurice Cheeks. They're Hall of Famers. There was no shame in losing to them. But other than that, he lost to Bird, Isaiah, and Jordan. Where's the shame in that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Because
LeBron will argue he lost to Dirk and lost to Tim Duncan. I mean, I guess that's valid. Those dudes are Hall of Famers.
Yeah, but I mean, look, it's no shame in losing, especially to Dirk, but it's just the team. It was Dirk and All-Stars from 10 years ago. Everybody, like, they had a bunch of former All-Stars on there. But I mean, like Sean Marion, he was a former All-Star. Peja, Tyson Chandler was actually still in his 20s. Jason Kidd, he was he was still an elite point guard, but I mean, you know, I know I rooted for Dallas because, for one, you know, to me, Miami was feeling himself too much, and I wanted to see Jason Kidd get a ring, and Jason Terry and Dirk, you know, but the fact, it's not even the fact that he lost to them, the fact that he was a no-show in the fourth quarter in game 4, 5, and 6 of that series. Just like the season before in Cleveland against Boston. The fact that he was a no-show, you know, is what really what hurts him in those debates. If he went out on his shield, okay, you just lost. You know what I'm saying?
The excuse they'll use is, oh, it was a young LeBron. Yeah, but Magic Young did what?
No.
Young was giving it to the Celtics.
In 2010 and in 2011, LeBron had been in the league for like 7 or 8 years. I don't want to hear that. He had won two MVPs. He was about 27 years old. No. He won in his first or second year. No. No, I never want to hear that.
But even if he was, again, all them dudes that have that GOAT thing surrounding their name, even in their second and third year, you saw GOAT.
Hey, you saw Magic. You saw Magic in 1979, the MOP of the Final Four. In 1980, 42-15 in a championship clinching game. 1980 as a rookie, Finals MVP at fucking 19 years old. Come on now. Like, come on, hey. Either you got it in you. I mean, not saying that. Would never say he's a great player. He's not a great player. But I'm just like, just imagine if social media was out in that time.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Social media was a thing. Yeah, Magic would have been. Even dudes like Dr. J would have been headliners on social media.
Exactly. Please. There would have been 3 different GOATs in a span of 15 years. It'd have been Magic, Larry, and Michael. They would have been considered, depending on I guess maybe Bird won 3 straight MVPs, but after that, Magic ate him for breakfast. And that was after eating Dr. J for breakfast. And then, here come, they're getting older, longer in the tooth, even though I think, I truly believe that if Magic had never tested positive, I believe him and Michael would have met in the finals again. But, I mean, come on, yeah. Imagine if social media was out, and then, oh my God. Because those players back then, they were really, that's when basketball was really theater. It was.
If I could ask some of these guys off camera, just between you and me, like Magic, if I could ask Magic, so Magic believes that Jordan is the GOAT. You've seen him say it multiple times, like, he's the best basketball I've ever seen, played against, whatever, he's the GOAT. But you played with Kareem, that was your longtime teammate, you got love for Kareem.
Right.
Why do you think that Jordan is the GOAT versus Kareem?
And that's crazy because Isaiah Thomas thinks that Kareem is the GOAT.
Right. And Bill Laimbeer, well, you already know what Bill Laimbeer thinks, but it don't even matter what he thinks.
Bill Laimbeer thinks LeBron.
Larry Bird said the same thing. Now, you played against Magic. That was your rival. Why do you? I don't know.
Well, I've heard Bird say that he thinks Magic is.
Why do you think Jordan is the GOAT?
Well, I don't. Yeah, because sometimes I think he's just saying it because that's the popular opinion. And I think he wants to stay on Jordan's good side for whatever reason. They both got the same amount of money, pretty much. Magic's not the sneaker mogul, but I believe if he wanted to own a team, he could. I just think he would want to own the Lakers. But I don't know. If I could ever have a conversation with him, I'd ask. I would definitely ask, because I would just tell Magic, why don't you make a case for yourself?
Like they do. These players tend to choose their contemporaries because Bill Russell will choose Will, and Wilt will choose Will.
I was gonna say, yeah, he did.
So we already know that, but others, Barkley, he chose Jordan,
Yep.
But they'll give props to guys that they idolize. I mean, Dr. J, say Doc was my man. However,
right.
I don't know. Maybe they got some naked. Jordan got some naked pictures of him.
Maybe he's got something on him. I don't know. Maybe Jordan has gotten to that stature where if you say something bad about me, I'll ruin your career. Because that's why it trips me out with Horace Grant, because he's an ambassador for the Bulls, and he just came out and was like, look, I will fight you if you have a problem with me. I was like, damn, okay. Well, I mean, you'd figure that thing was going to rub some people the wrong way, but I'm gonna get ready to get out of here, brother, and fix me something to eat.
Hey, I got one more parting shot, and this is not basketball.
Okay.
So 5 years, 175 million, and you ain't signed yet, bro?
You know, I had a feeling you was gonna try to sneak that in. I don't care about Dak Prescott's contract situation. You know what? And I know what you say about how, you know, Dallas, the revenue makes them America's team. We're talking about a contract for a quarterback that didn't even make the playoffs last year, whose squad was pretty much healthy for the most of the year.
Yeah, but you know who did that? You know who did that for real? You wouldn't blame that on the Russell Wilsons of the world. You blame it on the Carson Wentz's. You blame it on the Minnesota.
What, Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins. You blame it on Miami.
Miami. Shit, Tennessee. Tannehill.
Tennessee. Yeah. So that's what's trying to set the market, because, you know, he may not have did this, but he's looking at them guys and say, yeah, they team there did.
Well, I damn sure believe he should get more money than Ryan Tannehill. That's for damn sure. Derrick Henry got him his contract. No, I think Tennessee is going to be very disappointed in their investment next season. But you know what? With the whole Dak Prescott situation, you know who's really gonna gonna be the big winner? Yeah. Patrick Mahomes.
And that's why Dak is trying to. His dispute with that contract is years. He wants less years so he can test the market again once the price go up. That's the first thing. But then he said, okay, fine, I'll do the 5-year deal, but I want the last year to be $45 million.
I know.
Last year to account for inflation.
Well, let me ask you a question. This was Tony Romo. You think if this was Tony Romo, you think this is a different story?
If this is Tony Romo with that roster, he would have had a Super Bowl. So yeah, it'd be a different story. Yeah, it'd be a different story.
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
You know, he should have been in one with that BS call against Green Bay. You know, he should have been.
I don't know nothing. You know what?
Legitimately, his numbers were better than Brady. He should have won the MVP.
Well, that's debatable, but what I'm saying is what I'm saying is, if this is Tony Romo,
a one-legged Aaron Rodgers, and the defense not stop one-legged Aaron Rodgers, you know.
Well, hey, you know, the Cowboys always find a way to screw it up.
But it wasn't because he didn't do. That's my point. It wasn't because he didn't do.
What I'm saying, look, that was Tony Romo's best year. Tony Romo had about 3 good years, and the rest he was mediocre. So, but what the point?
I disagree with you there, because you can't have mediocre years, even though
you a Cowboy fan. I would expect you to.
They can't play, even though they played with a run-heavy offense in 7 years. He has shattered most of the Rodgers fallback and his numbers.
Yeah, but that wouldn't have been hard to do, because the league was had transitioned from predominantly running to predominantly throwing. You know that.
Okay, but again, even with that, when you go look at the record books from a quarterback perspective, it's only a couple guys that have those kind of numbers that's up there. Guys like Drew Bledsoe, have those kind of numbers. But my argument, when people want to start going in on Tony Romo, I said, well, okay, but Phillip Rivers, yeah, he won a couple playoff games, but you talking about a similar type thing.
I never said Phillip Rivers was better than Tony Romo. To me, they're like the same guy. The only thing Rivers did that Tony Romo didn't is Rivers got to a conference championship game. Tony Romo didn't.
Guys that you can look at and say, yeah, they put up. Well, did he win that ring? Nope. Marino, did he win the ring? Nope. France Arkin, did he win the ring?
No, but they. So are you saying that Tony Romo was better than Marino? I'll hang up this damn phone.
What I'm saying to you is there are a lot of quarterbacks that did not win rings through no fault of their own.
But the point I was trying to make is,
and anytime you really saw Tony Romo make a mistake, it was because he was doing too much.
But you know what, that happened too often. The point that I'm trying to make is, if this was Tony Romo, do you even think he gets to free agency? And I don't think so.
He does not. But let's be clear. Dak's been offered contracts this whole way through.
I understand that.
He got offered the $33 million a year. Nope, I don't want that. Carson Wentz got 35. Then he got offered 35. Nope, I don't want that. Then he got offered the 5-year, $37 million. Nope, I don't want that because it's 5 years.
Look, to be honest with you,
man.
I don't think Dak is worth that contract. I don't.
Either.
I don't.
Say keep that money.
I don't.
In the defense, use that money because they about to trade for Jamal Adams. Use that money to pay Jamal Adams and roll with Andy.
Well, then.
But I'm gonna say this. You're laughing, but I'm gonna say this.
No, I'm not
Andy
sleeping on.
had pieces
No,
throughout his
I'm
career.
not. I'm not sleeping on Andy Dalton. I respect Andy Dalton. I do.
But
I don't.
Andy, in terms of Dak, well, I'm gonna say this. From a dink and dunk perspective, Dak got that all day. But with the weapon that they acquired, the weapons they had, but the weapon they acquired with
Lamb chops.
and them 3 wide receivers, I'm gonna trust Andy Dalton on that deep ball, baby. I'm gonna trust Andy Dalton on that deep ball.
You know, you Cowboy fans make me sick. You're pumping you're pumping your chest out, and you ain't done a damn thing in a quarter century.
I'm just saying the obvious. Anybody that wants
But look, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
It's not gonna be a bust. You know that, and I know that.
I mean, I don't care personally. I mean, you know what? If he does good for him. Do I think Dallas is gonna win the Super Bowl next year? Nope. Do I think?
I mean, I didn't say we was gonna win.
You know,
I didn't say we weren't.
but now
But
do I?
we were, but what I will say is,
Do I think Dallas is gonna win the division next year? Nope.
Well, I don't place bets on that one.
Okay.
I'm for sure place bets on that one.
Okay.
You got right now. You got Mr. Slay over there in Philadelphia, looking like a white chick in the middle of a gangbang.
Okay.
White chick in the middle of a black gangbang.
Ooh, I'm gonna tell my brother to listen to this here.
He
Woo.
can't guard 3 people. He can't guard 3 people. Gallup is only gonna get better. Cooper is what Cooper is, and Lamb is what Lamb is.
Gallup's about to roll. You know, y'all not having Gallup much longer. Better take advantage now.
Gallup is under contract for 2 more years.
That's what I'm saying. Gallup, yeah.
He's a headache.
But we shall see. Do I think Romo? I mean, do I think that Dak is worth all that money? No. But he's doing what he thinks is smart business. So, I mean, I ain't mad at him for that.
But you know where that backfired? That backfired if you got Andy Dalton under contract for $7 million a year based on playing time, and that dude takes them to the playoffs. All of a sudden, you ain't looking worth $175 million or more, Dak.
And then you know what happens?
And
then you know what happens? Somebody else comes in and offers Andy Dalton big money.
And that's where we'd have to make that choice, you know. But you probably could get Andy Dalton for a 3-year contract.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he took, because we know now that he took less money to come to Dallas as a backup. He lives in Dallas. He's from TCU.
I know.
So we know why he took, less money with the COVID thing and this and the other. But he had other offers that were more than $7 million to be well, actually, he has a $3 million contract that can escalate to $7 million with playing time, with incentives. So he's getting paid $1 million more than our backup was last year.
Well, look, all I care about is as long as there's football. I don't give a damn who y'all starting quarterback is, because I hope y'all go 0-16. But I don't.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
All I want to see is football.
I'm sticking with my prediction too. I'm sticking with my other prediction. I think no matter what, I think Alden Smith is gonna surprise some people.
I don't doubt that.
20 sack dude, but I would not be surprised if he hit double digits.
It wouldn't surprise me either.
There are certain guys that just play
that can do it. Yeah, I don't. That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, honestly, I just hope he has his life together. That's all I care about. You know, it's good. It's good that he's back in football, but I just want him to keep his nose clean.
Yeah, he had some.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% confident in that, because this is short turnaround. If you have that many problems, there's something going on in your head.
I mean, as many times as they've given Josh Gordon chance after chance after chance, they could have. I'm glad they gave. Once Alden Smith got cleared of all his legal nonsense, I'm glad he has another chance. I just hope he stays clean. That's all. To me, that's more important.
Yeah.
If he gets 2 sacks but is sober for the entire season, round of applause.
The strange thing with Josh Gordon is all these times he he done had these, you know, situations. It's never nothing like, attempted murder or.
No, he's just a pothead. I mean,
man up and do the Ricky Williams. He need to man up and do the Ricky Williams. I like to smoke weed. I'm gonna retire.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. He's a pothead. That's it. You know, you ain't never heard nothing with promethazine or cocaine or anything like that. It's just he just can't stop smoking weed. My thing is, bruh, stop smoking weed for about 3 more years. Get you some good dough, and then do what Tyson did. Get a dispensary.
You know that's the next topic on the podcast, right?
Well,
I called it today. I said all these people gonna line up for this exhibition thing, but for real, I want Wilder. You talking all this? You could be Tyson. We're gonna be 50-some-year-old Tyson then.
I don't want. Look. I'm gonna save that for the next podcast because I don't want to see Mike Tyson fight Deontay Wilder. Now, I said this on my podcast before. Mike Tyson, the most dangerous thing about Mike Tyson is he's happy. And he said this in his movie that came out in 2009. A happy fighter is the best fighter. He seems to be in a great place mentally. He looks great. I don't think he would beat Wilder, but for 2 rounds, Wilder would have his hands full. Because Tyson's last 4 years of his career, he was a 4-round fighter. You're not going to improve on that 15 years later in your 50s. But he does have the punch where he could floor Deontay if he got caught. My thing is, Deontay's not, all Deontay has to do is stand straight up. You know.
But Deontay Wilder is not that dude. He's not a smart fighter. Yeah, that's shown against Fury that he's not a smart fighter.
No.
He tried to go in there and try to knock Mike out.
Yeah, that would be his mistake. That would be his mistake because, you know, if Mike Tyson fought any credible heavyweight, those heavyweights would train harder than they have in their whole career. 1, because that's Mike Tyson, and 2, you don't want to be that laughingstock guy who lost to a 50-some-year-old Mike Tyson.
Yeah, don't be that guy because who was that Foreman beat?
But Tyson is 9 years older than him. You talking about Michael Moorer? Yeah. But Foreman was still a relatively active heavyweight. He was 45. Larry Holmes was still fighting then. He was 45 too. But you talking about a dude who hadn't fought in 15 years and in their 50s? You don't want to be that guy. You don't. And I actually believe that Mike Tyson could beat Andy Ruiz, the guy who knocked Joshua out. I do believe Mike Tyson could beat him. I do believe that. But anyway, let me get out of here and get my kids.
Training video, and all I can say is all it takes is one.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But Tyson Fury wouldn't get caught. Tyson Fury would stand straight up. He would stay away from him. Anthony Joshua, he would just talk to Lennox Lewis, just stand straight up. You know, Deontay Wilder, yeah, he would go for it. But I mean, it's fun to think about because Tyson looks great. He does. The fact that he's about to be 54 years old and still has that hand speed and power, and oh my God. But I'll watch him fight Holyfield a 3rd time. Of course I will. But anyway, let me get out of here because I got to take care of these little ones. So, brother, I will hit you up the next podcast and we can get deeper into this Mike Tyson thing because, you know, I love boxing and I will be glad to talk the fight game with you.
Yeah. That's next podcast.
Absolutely. All right, bro. You take it easy.
You too.
All right.
All right, man.
All right. Well, I tell you, when me and my man Tony get to talking, we can go all day. That's why I had to stop because, you know, I still got to work tomorrow. But anyway, wet a buzzer. Anyway, you know, it's been a cool episode. I just wanted to dive right into it, The Last Dance. And, of course, we're going to have some barbershop talk after that. But I hope everybody has a wonderful, safe Memorial Day weekend. It's your boy, Brandon Brevon Towns. Again, hit that subscription button. I'm out. Peace.